Hello, friend. Welcome to the Happy Family Club. We're delighted to have you join us. Our mission is to help you have a happier, stronger family. We do that by bringing you the world's greatest experts in family, marriage, parenting, and relationships. We interview them to discover their secrets, their strategies, their techniques, and bring them to you so that you can cherry pick exactly what you need right now to have more success and more joy in your family.
And if you enjoy this interview, we encourage you to share it with your friends and your family and come on to the happyfamilyclub.com and see if you can find more information that's going to help you and your family be happier.
Again, thanks so much for joining us. Enjoy the interview. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Happy Family Club podcast. We're so excited to have you here today. We are absolutely thrilled to have Tonja here with us today. She's just an incredible person, and we just want to have her share what she's doing. We've got to know her a little bit, and you guys are going to be blown away at the insights and the wisdom and the strength of character and what Tonja has done with her Virtues and Values series. And she's got lots of things on the horizon to strengthen families and bring joy to teens and children and parents and just the whole gamut of stuff. So super excited to have you here. Do you want to tell a little about Tonja?
Yeah, Tonja Howard, we're so glad you're here.
Hi, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Tonja is the mother of two beautiful daughters that are growing up, and soon one of them soon to be leaving home, right?
That's right.
Yeah, she's actually an entrepreneur and has done a lot of different types of businesses. We're excited to hear about that, but especially how you're helping families and with your virtues and values and those books that you're working on and that you've written, and how we can use that to help strengthen our families. So glad you're here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, our pleasure. Absolutely. So I would love if you would share just, you can take as long or short as you want, but I'd love to hear your why. I mean, it's a really unique thing that someone in your position, I mean, you've had a successful career, you're a successful realtor, you've got successful investments, you've done businesses with your husband, and now here you are writing children's books. It's like, okay, now wait, what is the story behind there? It's crazy. So maybe you could share with us a little bit about your background, and then I want to dig into that key question as to, you know, a principle you think will help families become happier. So first of all, your background, where did you come from, and give us the scoop as to your why.
Yes. So just taking it way back, I was born in New York, and then, you know, my own family moved around quite a bit, which was great. And then early on, my very first job, I actually worked at Buck Owens Productions, and I don't know if you know him, but it's Hee Haw. And, and that was pre-children. And, you know, that was some of the greatest moments in my life. You know, I think it really shaped me. And I was able to develop amazing connections with not only the family, but people there. And so, but, you know, then fast forward, I get married and I have my first child, Brantley. And, you know, I think at that point, things started to stir within me, even though this company was amazing and they were so accommodating when she was born. Something more was pulling me there. And so I ended up resigning there. And you know, really started staying home, you know, with Brantley. And at that point, it's when my husband and I started to, you know, develop our businesses and kind of really threw our hats into the entrepreneurial ring, which has been incredible, and again taught me quite a bit, but also gave me the flexibility to raise Brantley. And you know, so I can remember, you know, Brantley was in my stomach and Google had just come out, and I knew I wanted to parent differently than my parents did. And of course I appreciate how they did it. I just knew that I wanted to branch out a little more. And, you know, I feel like I'm a positive light, and I know that, you know, I lead with my heart. And so I can remember, you know, punching in positive discipline and on the Google, which, you know, wow, you know, that was incredible in itself. And the book Positive Discipline by Jane Nelson came up. And, you know, me being the type that I am, I just dove head first. You know, I surrounded myself with that. I connected with her. And from there, I ended up, becoming a positive discipline lead trainer.
Wow.
And which
really dove
was,
in.
I really just, that's how
yeah.
exactly right. And it was no different than the real estate. I knew I wanted to invest, so why not get your license and just figure it all out? And so,
Yeah.
but I knew that would keep my mind sharp. And also, this is how I was really going to start parenting my children. And on top of that, it was also I wanted to help anybody else I could. And so, I ended up doing that. And then also, I became a board member of Positive Discipline and helped them facilitate quite a few things and maybe rewrite some things. And it was an incredible experience, and one, again, that helped me grow with now both of my daughters, but I was able to help others. And then, the girls got older and I started homeschooling them. So, that takes up all day, every day. But I knew that's where I wanted to be. And so I did homeschool my girls for 8 years. And now they are, oh boy, 17, almost 18 on Christmas, which now you all know that she's headed out. And my youngest is 2 years behind her.
Wow.
And during my parenting journey with them, and I'm still parenting and we're still learning, but not only with the positive discipline aspect of it, I really dove into virtues and values.
Yeah.
Because I believe that if we can operate from a place of that, I mean, there are over 100 virtues and more.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how old you are, where you come from, they are timeless, they are classic. And so I saw the benefit that not only my children, but myself had living in those virtues and values every day.
Yeah.
And so I think it was last year when I knew my sweet daughter was going to be a senior, and I knew I had accomplished some amazing things in my professional world. But for me, the working in something that I was passionate about, as I am about this, I thought, this is the time.
Yeah.
Because we raised them to leave the nest, and everybody's looking at me going, are you going to make it? Yes, I'm going to make it. I'm going to make it. And so it was like, why not now? And I wanted to also write these books to leave a legacy for my girls.
Yeah.
I picture them up on a bookshelf and they're reading to their grandbabies. I don't know if that will happen, but that's my vision. And I wanted these books to be in the hearts and hands of everybody.
Yeah.
And so I was speaking to my friend Casey about this, and he is a leadership coach, right? And so we have these sessions, which are amazing. And one day he said, this is not the coach talking. This is your friend. I'm sick of you. I'm sick of hearing you tell me you want to write books. Like, this is it. So, I want to introduce you to my friend, Bob Sorensen. And, as y'all know, Bob has written over 20 books.
Yep.
And a couple of them, Juice Box Bully and Stand in My Shoes. And Stand in My Shoes is amazing. It was #1 on the charts for empathy for years, which I love. And so Bob and I connected, and it was a relationship that was just waiting to happen. I don't know how to explain it. And not only is Bob my mentor, but he and I have a great working relationship and a great friendship. And so from there, he said, Tonja, look, I don't have to write anymore. I'm getting older. I mean, but I want to do this. Like, I feel like the world needs to hear this too.
Yeah.
And so, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I want to write books on virtues and values. And I feel like we should co-create that. And that's what we did, to start this series off, the Virtues and Values series. We picked 12 virtues, narrowed them down, which was not easy.
I bet that was tough.
But yes, but we ended up doing that to start with. This series can grow if we want that as well, and if everybody else wants that. So we picked those virtues and values, and and started writing. And so I feel like this is giving me, I say purpose. I mean, we all want to live with purpose, but this is really something that Bob is passionate about and that I am passionate about. And it also goes hand in hand with parenting, and so that's why I've also created Connected Parenting. And it's parenting with love. And I believe, after all of the years parenting my girls, and again, now we're into the teenage years, it does look a little different, only because these sweet teenagers are, lifespan wise, I mean, they are interdependent. They are becoming their own people. And I will tell you, I think I have grown more now in their parenting years myself than ever before.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah, we can so relate to that. Yes.
I have always said they are our mirrors. And but the mutual respect part of this parenting, right? And again, these virtues and values are constantly being called on. Yeah. Right? In life, in parenting, and everything we do. I can't even tell you how many times a day it's like, we need to, we need to be respectful, let's call on some patience. Let's call on some grace. How about the gratitude? And if you think about that, they really are our compass. Yeah. I believe that they are. And so, this connected parenting is something that I'm passionate about too, because yes, when we talk about positive discipline, there are people that say, well, discipline is a negative word. Yeah. But it's not. If you were to look this word up in the dictionary, it's training. Yeah. And so when we put the positive spin on it, that doesn't mean that there aren't consequences. That doesn't mean that it's a free for all. But it does it does encourage the child and empower the child and the parent really to grow. Yeah. And so connected parenting will be a little bit of, I want to say everything, because I really believe that connection comes before correction. Mm-hmm. It's very hard to correct when you're not connected. It's really hard to do anything when you're not connected. Right. And so that is my goal. And so I feel like between connected parenting and look, that looks very, I don't want to say different. At the core of it is it's heart-centered, right? Yeah, totally. And it doesn't matter if they're an infant, all the way up to their adulthood. The idea is to stay connected. Yeah. I mean, and we are all built for love and connection. Yeah. We really are. And to really look for the behaviors, like, we have these behaviors, but what's the reason behind the behavior? Right. There's a lot of decoding, but it's letting them know that I am here, and we are doing this. That doesn't mean that people don't need time. It's just, it's not abandonment. Yeah, totally. Mm-hmm. So yeah. I want to dive into some of the tactical aspects of that a little bit more. Yes, but sure. First, I just want to go back to two things. Number one is, you said there came a point you're like, I wanted to learn this for myself. Mm-hmm. And I also wanted to help other people. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to just dig a little bit more into your heart and find out why, because a lot of people, they're like, okay, I really want to raise my kids, but they don't have a sense of reaching out and making this a movement, making this, a purpose of their life to serve bigger than themselves. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. And I'm really fascinated as to what happened inside of you, or why was that you decided to do that? This is very interesting. My makeup as a person is to really think of others, right? And just, I'm helpful. And probably sometimes to a fault. Like, there's a fine line with anything you do, but not only that, I just felt the passion and movement. I am the type of person that will just observe. I love to observe, and I feel like if I can help others, mm-hmm. Not only do I hope that they pay that forward, but I just feel like there is something miraculous about people helping people.
Yeah.
And on the same, on the, I guess the opposite side of that coin, I want help too. I believe that we all live and learn through each other. And if we can live and learn through connection and love, I don't know else. I can't explain it other than the fact I felt very moved.
Yeah.
Very moved to do it. Because I am so passionate, but so passionate about children, about parenting. And I just also saw the need.
Yeah.
But it just moved. There was something in my heart that moved the needle, and I just said, we got to do this.
I love it. Well, whatever that thing was, God or your
yes.
It's like, I believe.
Oh, that's right.
It's amazing. And there is such a need right now. It really is an incredible time in the history of the world where, I think that one of the worldviews that I've played with and looked at is a book called The Fourth Turning, which just talks about how history rotates in these major cycles and eras. And one of the eras is this unraveling where society, all the traditional values and what we thought was sure ground, like suddenly starts to fall out from under us, and we're not quite sure anymore. And I see this happening right now in our world today, right? There's so many variants between politics and economy, and there's new technologies, and then I think a lot of parents got sideswiped by social media. It's like, well, wait a minute, like this is not the world. I mean, we're parenting in a world that our parents had no clue it is even possible.
Night and day, and I bring that up a lot. Yes.
And when you look at levels of bullying, and then the things with gender confusion or relationships, and it just goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. And I think that a lot of parents and youth are like, okay, where exactly do we stand?
That's right.
And so the fact that you found some solid ground, and I'm not saying you're perfect, but the fact that you found some solid ground, like, okay,
I'm not saying that either.
Let's put the stake in the ground, wave the flag, and be like, hey, actually, you don't have to tread water forever. There is solid ground over here. Come on over. So Tonja, I love it. So
that's yes. And you're right. It is trying to, I couldn't agree with you more. And it is, what came to my mind was we have to realign and get on solid ground.
That's right. Absolutely.
Okay. And sometimes that is, I'm telling you, bringing it down to the nuts and bolts, right?
Exactly.
You've got to build from the ground up. And so I agree with you. And I have this conversation with my girls all the time is, gosh, girls, and I say this to them, it must be really hard to be a teenager sometimes, truthfully. And if we can understand that, us as parents coming from a place of understanding, you mentioned it, you said social media and all of these things we didn't have. All we needed to do was be home before dark.
Exactly, right?
And roll up the hose.
Right. And there it was. Like,
yes, and roll up the hose. And so I also take that into consideration when, I'm dealing with the hearts of my girls, because wow. But I couldn't agree with you more. And, Bob and I had that exact conversation. He said, if there was ever a time that we needed to roll out virtues and values, it's now.
Now.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit more about that. The question that we love to pose, because again, our brand, our world is about helping families be happier. And
that's right.
And Abe Lincoln said that people are about as happy as they make up their mind to be. And I think there's a second piece of that puzzle, and that is, we believe that happiness is fruit on the tree, meaning you can't just do wrong. Like, I can't go up and start slapping people and stealing all their money and say, I'm just going to decide to feel happy about this, right? At some point, it's like when you do really bad stuff, you're not going to feel happy. It's just part of it. It's where we're being, right?
It's living from a place of virtue and value, but being congruent with what your beliefs are.
Exactly. So anyway, our question to you, as you're standing on solid ground, is, if there was one principle that we could talk about and discuss that really would make a difference for families to help them to be happier, what would you say that is? What's your perspective on that, Tonja?
No, I think you just touched on it. It really is what we make up our mind to do. So, you know, I talk a lot about, I say mindfulness, right?
Yes.
But this really is an integral part of being happy. So, you know, us as parents, how can we possibly be happy and treat our children the way we want to treat them if we aren't aligned ourselves? If we can't, how do I say this? If we can't step into that, everything trickles down. So in my opinion, it's making a choice first and foremost, right? It's making the choice. From there, I feel like our thoughts will then tell our actions. I feel like we act on what we think. And this is, you guys, this is a whole nother thing, the neuroscience behind this, and there's so much that goes into this. But I feel like all these families want to be happy, but, and I have finally learned this, I'm still learning, there's something to be said for self-care.
Yeah.
And that is an entire book that could be written. And because if we aren't taking care of ourselves, all of that trickles into the family. And our children are watching us more than they listen.
Yeah. Yep.
Right? Yeah. They're feeling that. And so I would say if we're talking about all the tactical what to do, it starts with us.
Yeah.
From there, I believe in, you know, when we talk about connection, there's so much that goes into that too. I mean, I believe that our job as a parent, or our role, is to also model to our children, what does it look like spiritually? What does that look like to take care of yourself, your mind, your body, your soul? And you know, it's up to each individual family to decide what that is. And then, as you all know, when they get to teenagers, they have their own, but you're laying that foundation for them. It's really more about growth.
Yeah.
And being open to that. And again, making that choice. But that is, in my opinion, the recipe of a happy family. That doesn't mean you're going to be happy all the time, but that just means that there's that foundation of happiness, and also loving and respecting where the others are coming from is big, I think. Yeah.
Really big.
Yeah.
Okay. You have such great framework here. I love this. So you make a choice. There's a self-care, connection, modeling, and growth, right? These 6 key things that you've just talked about here, I think are so powerful. Maybe, you know, just again, kind of keeping an eye on time here, looking at where we go from here. I would love to hear your thoughts on a couple of these, but one is this alignment. You know, if there's some tactical insights and experience you have, because I think a lot of people, they're like, oh, I really want to do better, but I'm over here and I'm over here and I'm over there, and I'm not quite sure about this and what about that. And so any suggestions about how to get that alignment into our life, and what a process that we can go through to start that?
Oh my gosh, it's harder than working out. It really is.
It is, right?
But if we honor that, like we all know that, you know, I really feel like all of us are inherently good, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you really, really strip away everything, we are inherently good.
Yes.
And, you know, a lot of times when we look at hurt children, you know, and then hurt does turn into anger. It's just you know, it's a scaffold of all of these things that have built up. But you know, to answer your question, I think it's real and honest to call out the fact that it is hard to align all the time.
Yeah.
And you know, it really is where these virtues and values come in, because you know, it's we can talk about honesty and gratitude, and if we can. It is about making the choice and then having the self-discipline to see it through.
Yes.
That's the hardest part, right? But it's hard.
Yeah.
And so it's almost as if, you know, when I look at myself, it's like, what do I want more?
Yeah.
Do I want this moment of, now it's not to say that mistakes aren't opportunities to learn, right? I mean, I am a firm believer of that as well. But it's walking your talk.
Yeah.
every day. I mean, can you imagine how many times a day we're faced with making the right decision?
Yeah.
Or a decision that is going to align us. And a lot of times I reverse engineer this. So I, in my prayer and meditation, I will have a visualization of what is it that you want to look like, but be like, feel like.
Yeah.
What does this look like to you? And then how are you going to get there? Right. And so, it is a conscious choice. It's no different than me waking up every morning at 4:30 to work out, because for me, that's one of my self-care rituals.
Yeah.
I feel stronger, the everything's going and flowing, everything, right? But on the same, I also work my heart, my mind, right? So I'm working all of it. And there are rituals to do that as well. But again, it's a choice. Do I want to eat this donut? Or do I want to maybe choose something healthier because I know how I'm going to feel afterward?
That's right.
And that's what our choices are, right? The girls could make a choice, or I could, and we know our internal compass and our conscious tells us when we haven't quite hit the mark. And so I feel like at those times when that happens, we're realigning. We're realigning. And I feel like if we are not learning, we're not growing. I mean, we are going to do this until the very end. Right. But right. And there's days where can I just take a day off? Can I just please take a day off? And you should, but I know that might be the long way around it, but it really is about making those choices. It really is about getting our mind and hearts right. And living in congruency with what we want for ourselves and our family.
Totally. And I love it. Yeah, totally. And I love, Tonja, what you said here. It's like sitting down in prayer and meditation, or spending some time and saying, okay, do I want, what do I want my life to look like? And getting a clear picture on that. And then say, okay, do I want that more? So maybe one of the goals is, I'm fit, energetic. I've got all the energy I need to play with kids and grandkids and be able to go out and, experience and help other people and do all that kind of stuff. Do I want to have that level of life? Or do I want to have extra donuts padding my belly?
That's right.
Right. And do I want?
No, I'm just kidding.
And all the things that come with large. We're just using weight here, but it's everything is what I hear you saying, right?
Yes.
Right?
Okay. Emotionally, how do I want to show up for my family that day?
You just said it. How do I want to show up, right? And that's huge. We talk about showing up a lot, but what does that look like? And how can I get there?
Yeah. And I love the idea about reverse engineering that, and just say, okay, well, if that's the end picture, then what are the steps that actually lead to that? What's that path? And I think sometimes that just asking that question is so powerful, because sometimes the answer is, well, I'm not sure. And then a follow-up question is, okay, well, where do I go find out? It's like, I love how you said Bob was your mentor. Because what did you know about publishing and writing children's books?
I had no idea.
No idea.
You went
so you went and found out, right? And there's
I'm still finding out, right? And that's But isn't that the good point? Is we're not always going to have the answers, as you're saying. And by the way, we're not. This isn't like you get to the end of the street and you're like, I'm done.
Right.
Right. This is growth at its finest, and it's bringing ourselves back to where we want to be, because we will all fall off course. It happens.
Of course. Yeah.
That's why we say a lot of sorries.
Right. Get really good. Yeah. I got really good at apologizing early on my marriage. I was like, actually, I'm sorry, Annie.
Right. But isn't that's an entirely different subject. And it is also that it's being vulnerable enough to say, I am really sorry. And it is some of the most powerful world, and they're healing. It really, it's just because we don't want to be perfect. I can't imagine trying to live up to that. I just don't want to do that. And I don't want my girls to ever feel that either, because I haven't met anybody yet. I love you just as you are, right? Because we are all trying hard.
Absolutely. I love it.
So great.
So so thank you. That is such good insight on alignment. I mean, getting that big picture and then making the decision and then sticking to it and apologizing when you don't. Like,
that's exactly right. And
right,
we do, we get up and we do it all over again.
Exactly. I told we at lunch this afternoon with our girls. I don't even remember when we got on it, but I said, you know what? You're gonna wake up every morning until you don't. And when you do, you get a chance to grow and become.
Oh, that's so beautiful. But
it's like it's true. We do. So
that's exactly right.
When we're homeschooling, we homeschool our children too, and people often ask us, they're like, "Well, like, what do you guys do for summer break?" And I'm like, "Shh, don't tell them. There's not. We don't do that. We don't do that." And I said, you don't get it. You don't get a summer break in life. So it's like we always get to grow and learn and become. That's just the way it is.
True. And when you intertwine that, you know, that's an entirely different thing too, which, I mean, you think about that, because being an entrepreneur as well, or anything else in life, I don't get to take a summer break. We don't take summer breaks. Now we learn balance.
We learn balance.
Yes, you know, we learn balance. But I'm with you on that too. Because and by the way, when you do take a summer break, it's really hard to go back.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, I took that sabbatical way too long.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Okay, so I'd love to hear some additional thoughts on connection. I mean, that is so huge. And I'm thinking about these different levels that we have. I mean, so at church on Sunday, there was a young couple, brand new baby, and the baby was a little fussy. We were sitting next to them, you know, and I'm like, I like love babies, you know, so, and I braggingly, I happen to be one of the world's greatest, like, you know, baby holders.
The baby whisperer. Yes.
Exactly. You know, so I was like, oh, let me just hold that baby for a minute, you know. And so I got to spend about an hour just playing with, you know, helping this baby go to sleep and feeding him and burping him, and just, it was beautiful. It was so sweet.
Yes.
Oh, I need grandchildren. Anyway. But,
yes, you do. I was just going to follow up with that.
But the point is that we have these different stages of life: the infancy stage, this toddler stage, teenager, and then adult. We as parents, I think, get an opportunity to try to connect with our children each phase of the game, right? Each phase of life. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on, you know, how do we do that, and what kind of connection points ends up being really important? Because we could all go out and get drunk together and have, you know, memories of being, you know, drunk and high, and we could all go rob a bank together and have memories of, hey, we connected on robbing a bank together, right? I mean, there's positive things that we could do. We could go out fishing. We could spend all of our days on all of our time on video games. We could spend all of our time on serving. Like, there's a lot of different ways to connect. And I just would love to hear your insights on how to connect and where you feel like some important connection points are.
Yes. So it starts in infancy. You know, when we look at the lifespan of a person and the different developmental stages that they have, I can't recommend enough for any parents, you know, when they're out getting these books, how do I do this? You know, we always talk about this. One of the most important things and one of the most important, I guess, gifts that they could give their child is to understand the developmental process of every age and every stage. Because, you know, Adele Faber has an incredible, it's a very old series, but it is, you know, your 10 to 14-year-old, your infant, it takes you through everything. Just reading those alone, you will start to understand first and foremost that most of this behavior is developmental.
Yeah.
But what parents, you know, and it's no fault to, again, there's no manual. There's no manual. We try to write books and we really try to help each other. But at the end of the day, parents tend to take it personally. Like, why in the world is my teenager acting like that? Like, I just gave her the world, right? We take it personally. So, you know, taking ourselves out of that is one thing. Now, back to the connection part. So when we talk about the ages and stages, I cannot stress this enough. The foundation that you will start building with your child from infancy, think about this foundation, is all the way up from toddler to all ages and stages will lead up to the teenage years.
Yeah.
So this is when we talk about this job is hard, I don't even know that I like to call it a job, but our mission. You have got to be involved. You have got to connect on every level, and it looks different. So when they're an infant, we're holding them, we're taking care of them. When we get to the toddler stage, we talk about making choices. We know as parents, we have laundry to do and we have all these things to do, but it is carving out that time to connect with your child.
Yeah.
I can't say that enough. So when they're 2, it's play. 3, 4, 5, you're playing with them. You are getting in their world, right? And those are in my opinion, those are the moments that they remember. You're also building the core memory and everything. You're building that in them as all of their, everything is working and growing. And so it really does wire them. It wires them for connection.
Mm-hmm.
Because then when they get into their tween years, they're more verbal, and they're out riding bikes and they're out doing all these things. But the point of connected parenting too is you are still staying connected with them in that way. You are constantly building that house, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then what happens is all the way up to high school. So, now it looks very different for our teenagers as now they're verbal and they look at mom and dad and go, you're different than I am. Now, right?
Yeah.
You are different than I am, but we're still going to be connected, and that looks different. It's a lot more talking. It's a lot more holding the space for them. It's a lot more non-judgment, because you can't. You know how this is. You be very careful how you give your opinion.
Yeah.
I ask, would you like me to give my opinion? Connected parenting is all of that, because at the end and into their adult life, when they are off on their own, the connection remains.
Yeah.
It's so strong, but it looks different. When I have parents come to me and say, I am not connected with my teen, and I know this sounds, but I say, let's take it all the way back.
Yeah.
Did you make the time? Did you connect with them when they were an infant all the way through? And if so, tell me what that looks like.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's heart centered. There are so many times a parent will say, I cannot work this out with my child. And I say to them, if they're, maybe 8, 9, 10, even 2, go play with them.
Yeah.
I just first want you to go play with them. I want 3 days of you just getting in their world and playing with them. And then I want you to revisit what the issue is, right? It's amazing. And so when we talk about connection before correction, it doesn't always work that way. There might be something you have to deal with right now, but if you have built that foundation from the ground up, you do stay connected. And it's those moments, because you've built that connection, when you go to talk about something hard and they're a teenager, they've already built that core. You've built that foundation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love that if you what I hear you saying is you've got this parent and they're like, oh, I got this problem with my 8, 9, 10-year-old. You're like, look, go back and relay that foundation.
That's exactly right.
Your world.
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't say it, but I get the feeling it's like, go play with them and love them, not judge them. Don't fix them. Don't correct them. It's like, just be with them and help them to feel like you said earlier, it's like, we all are inherently good. We all have this incredible intrinsic value. And I think what I hear you saying is this connection point is spend some time with them and just shower them with love and help them to see that intrinsic eternal value.
100%. Because if you think about that, isn't that what we all want? We all want to be loved, seen, heard, respected. And if you think about in society today, as we talk about this, how often they are already judged.
Yes.
The message of I'm not good enough. And I can't tell you enough how many times I will just say to my girls, you are good enough the way you are. I love you just the way you are.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so it's us being able to open up, break our hearts wide open and be as vulnerable, because you guys, there's another aspect of this, and it's reparenting ourselves. Oh, big. It's right.
Wow.
It is something big, because the way our child is acting, if we are triggered, we've got to stop right there, because it's about us. What
Yeah.
happened in my childhood? What is causing this? And reparenting is a huge, I say, technique, but it's also a cornerstone of connected parenting,
Yeah.
because you are reconnecting with yourself as well. You are having to you're gonna have to work some things out within yourself.
Okay. Well,
Wow.
that might be a whole separate interview we do.
I was gonna, yes.
I mean, Tonja, that's
amazing.
that's like, oh, look at this. There's a whole other universe out here. Like, let's just, we're going to put a pin in that for right now and just like move on.
We
But
need to hold that, but
I know,
100%.
my goodness, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
Really amazing. Okay. So I absolutely love this. And the thing is that I think that oftentimes two things happen that stood out to me, what you're just saying. That one is oftentimes, mom, dad working, gone, they have these worlds going on, which, hey, sometimes that's exactly what needs to be and should be.
That's right.
But then when we come back into our children's presence, instead of setting that aside and connecting, we bring that whole other world with us sometimes. And
Agreed.
and then our child's like, dang, well, where do I fit in that world, right? And we have to, I think what I hear, and again, I'm making conjectures here, but it's like, well, actually, we need to help them see that that's a piece of our world, but the heart of our world is us as parents, husband, wife, family, them. Like they belong inside of the core of our world. And if they feel that, it's like, okay, wait, now I don't have to be part of mom's career world.
That's
because
right.
I'm part of mom's mom world, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or dad's career world, or you know what I mean? It's like that connection where they feel they've got a place.
That's their sense of belonging.
Yeah, right.
And what you'll find is a lot of children too, toddlers, and then on even teens, will act out.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because that reason right there. So, again, this goes back to making choices. What is important to you in your life?
Yeah.
Right. And what do you want to see? And whatever is important in our life, we have to take the time to nurture that.
Yeah.
Period.
Yep.
And so it is, when I say prioritizing, but you couldn't have said it better. These children want to feel like they are a part of, our universe too. Now, look, that is also balance. That doesn't mean you're dropping everything and going, oh my gosh, Johnny is asking for me right now.
Right.
They also need to learn, patience and understanding as well, just as we do. I can remember my children playing, and I can remember at first my husband would look at me like, are you kidding that she told you to wait and you said, okay.
Yeah.
But you understand too, this is teaching them. It's a mutual thing.
Yeah.
Honey, I'm asking you, you're done with your lunch, and we've got to put the plates up and stuff. And I would say to her, when is a good time for you to do that? And he would look at me like, are you kidding me? Like, the time is now. But in return, do you know that they say the same thing back?
Yeah. Totally.
Mom, I'm really needing this on, they're older now. What is a good time for you?
Yeah.
Right. And so it is, but again, it starts from the very beginning. And you're right. We all want to feel like we are loved and seen, and that we're just a part of something big.
Yeah.
And that's family. Right.
They're the most important part. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep.
I love this. I love this dialogue of the communication, saying, look, this thing that I want to talk with you about or I want you to do, it's important to find a place on your calendar. I mean, it's not really on the calendar, but it's like to find a spot in your life. Let's make sure that we have clear space for this and do it. And
clear expectation.
Right.
Too. Yeah.
What a powerful
lesson. Yeah.
I mean, what a powerful lesson to teach the children.
Yeah.
So great.
It makes me think, for especially when they are younger, our children, because I've always worked from home. which has its own crazy dynamics in a household of 11 children. And,
Yes.
it's like,
Bless you. Yes.
well, so they, a lot of times they'd come in and they'd be like, hey, can you read a book to me? Can you come and play? Can we go do whatever? And Margie and I decided early on that when our children ask us for things, unless it's like way, way, way inappropriate, the answer is always yes. And so I'd be like, I would love to read to you. In fact, I've got time to do that tonight at 6 o'clock. We'll sit down, we'll read a book together, right?
That's right.
Or we can go swimming out in the pool. Let's do that. Let's do that this afternoon at such and such, because then I can fill out time.
That's right.
And so I hear what you're saying. I've never phrased it quite like that, but I love how it's just like connection. It's so beautiful.
But it's so right. You just said yes, which is two important, amazing words. And you know what? They learn patience. And then the other thing that they learn they feel is excitement. Oh my gosh, it's 6 o'clock. My dad said he was going to swim with me. They can't wait. And it's a win-win. It's a win-win. Yeah.
By the way, for anyone listening to this, keep those appointments. They are absolutely gold.
Don't break them.
Don't break them.
Yeah. You guys can't say that more. They know it. They feel it. And those are appointments that you cannot call in sick to. 100%. Yeah.
My rule of thumb is like someone had to be bleeding and dying or the house on fire. Otherwise, Otherwise, we're doing it, right?
That's exactly right. Yes.
So let's we're short on time. But I was hoping you could talk just a little bit more about the virtues and values. I know you've got your first book out, and would love to I'd love to hear just a little bit more about how virtues play into this whole conversation of, the connection, the growth, alignment, self-care, and because I sort of have this sense of like you've got this universe of all these ideas and points where you've got such wonderful models for parenting and marriage relationship stuff, but it feels like you've consolidated all that down and it's swirling around this nucleus of virtues and values. I could be wrong. You tell me if I'm wrong, but
no.
Like, explain to us a little bit more about how you came to that, and tell us about your virtues project.
Yes. So that is the core. I mean, whether it's a marriage, parenting, people, at the core of that really is virtues and values. Think about how many you all call on daily, right? And what I love about virtues and values, they're just timeless. They are classic. It knows no age. It knows no gender. It knows nothing.
Yeah.
And so it just becomes the roadmap and the compass, really, to direct all of us to the life that we want to live, to the person that we want to be, and how we want to treat others, which is huge. For example, the first book is Grumpy or Grateful, for the kids. So this was released in August, and this is kids learning about gratitude, right? And so it's a beautiful, simple story about how Clara, who's on the front cover, which is actually my oldest daughter, is grumpy. She goes to her grandparents' farm, and her cousin Kiara is like, "What's the matter with you? Like, you're over here complaining that there's no shops and there's no this and that what we've got to realign you, Clara." And so, it was a beautiful story about how Grandma and Grandpa came in and said, look, we make choices every day, and every day we get to choose whether we want to be grumpy or whether we want to be grateful.
Yeah.
And that's where it boils down to. It's the choices that we make that will dictate how we feel and how we act. And so Clara learned this beautiful story. And so if you just take gratitude alone, you guys, we wake up every day. And what 3 things are we grateful for? And I mean, we could think of so many, but if you're starting even the day out like that, or if you've had a really, not so good day, there's silver linings in that as well, or there's blessings in why this happened. So, you know what, this is really not great news, but I'm grateful for something. We can always find the gratitude.
Yeah.
And so with this book and the second book, which is going to be released in a month and a half, it's about respect, and so that's another one. How can we respect others? This is a big one.
This is a huge one.
And everything we do in life, it's respecting others.
Yeah.
We never know the story behind anybody, right? And so we've got to respect differences. We have to come from a place of love and understanding. So I just can't say it enough. Even parents that have read this first book, they're like, thank you for the reminder. Thank you. Thank you, because we needed to fine tune ourselves too. So those virtues and values, when you think about it, it is the nucleus. From that, if we are living every part of our life from a virtue value, it's only good. Right? Good. It's only good. Yeah.
So great. So great.
Awesome. Well, doggone it, we ought to wrap up.
I know this
we're having so much fun.
So much fun.
It was so fun, you guys. Thank you so much for having me on.
Well, and I really, so a couple of things. Your website is TonjaHoward.com, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes.
And on Amazon, you can get more information at TonjaHoward.com about the book and about your world. And also, I think that it's available on Amazon, so you can just jump on Amazon and look up, your book and find it there and ordered, right?
You can. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Walmart, all of the places that you can find a book. Grumpy or Grateful is now there.
Yes.
And it's also on my website, but, then of course we have which is so great, the Instagram page, which is the Tonja Howard. And that really houses
the Tonja Howard. Love it.
The Tonja Howard, because Tonja Howard was taken. So we had to get creative.
Good God. Whatever else that other Tonja is doing, we don't know. But you're the Tonja Howard. Beautiful.
But that really houses everything virtue and value related. Like this month, it's all about gratitude, in celebration for the first book. But on there, you will also find the connected parenting, just little tips and just fun little quotes. And then, oh boy, if you're hopping onto my stories, that's just my life. What am I doing today, right? The sunrise, or riding the horse, or hey, this just happened. And that's just really my creative outlet. It's fun.
There you go.
It's fun to put those stories in there. But that Instagram handle is great for all of the above as well. So
wonderful.
Beautiful.
Okay.
I think I saw, you mentioned earlier, parenting and stuff, but I think I saw a quote from you saying, people say parenting is hard, but actually parenting is a blessing.
It's a blessing. It's a gift.
It's a gift.
A gift.
It's a gift.
It's a gift. Yes.
I'm not sure it's a job. When people go, this is the hardest job. And, I'm always torn about that, because I'm like, I know it is. Yes, it is a good job. But can you think about the gift that it truly is to be a parent?
Right.
Yeah. I think the other day we watched a movie with our younger children called The Rookie.
Yes.
Rookie's fun. And, he goes through this where he's like, he finally gets a shot at the big leagues. He's in the minors and he's really down and he's discouraged.
Yeah.
And he watches an interview of himself talking about when he was a kid and how he loved baseball.
Yes.
It's about a guy he's older and gets a shot at the major league. But he realizes this baseball gig it's not a pain. It's not a torture. It's like, this is a gift. I love it. And so he comes into the locker room the next day and he goes up to his buddy. He's like, you know what we get to do today? The guy's like,
That's
well,
right.
It's like, we get to play baseball. It's like, so excited. And Margie and I, and we can see, John, you feel the same way. It's like, I get up in the morning, I think, you know what we get to do today? We get to be parents.
We get to
play
parents
with our
again.
kids. We get to do this. It's like, it's just, and for all the challenges.
Yes,
so
mindset is everything.
Yeah.
Mindset is everything. And even those, the times where it's really hard to be a parent.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we love those times too. I mean, we'll go off and cry and do our thing, but but I love it. It's, oh my gosh, I get to do this.
Yeah.
It changes everything.
Fun.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Your
Thank
insight,
you guys.
wisdom has been just awesome. You over-delivered for us. We're so grateful for that.
Thank you. I'm grateful for you too as well. The conversation was just beautiful. So thank you guys as well.
Cool. All right. So guys, go check out Tonja's book. bring more gratitude and more virtues and values into your life. And I just promise you, it'll be well worth all of your time and effort. So cool. All right. And again, Tonja, thank you so much. And
thank you,
we'll
guys.
talk to you soon. Bye now.
Yes, thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.